I was running a few minutes late. I posted up while I was still driving home, kind of trying to let everybody know. But let me know if you're here. Is anybody here with me tonight? Anybody tuned in? Anybody watching Tuesday with Todd? Give me a shout. Type a message. Let me know. Kind of a weird thing talking to a blank screen. You never really know if anyone is paying any attention. Is anyone out there listening? If so, who is it? Hey, there's Alana Baxter. How are you tonight, Alana? Good to see you. So yeah, I apologize about running late tonight. I was actually driving home from a good friend, actually Lauren's fishing partner in her high school fishing team, Drew Estes. He was receiving his Eagle Scout award tonight, the rank of Eagle. And for those of you who don't know, that's a huge deal. And I'm an Eagle Scout from 1991 and was able to go and just be a part of that for him and enjoy celebrating with him that phenomenal achievement. So that's why I was late logging on. And I'm terribly sorry. I apologize. But it actually gave me a different topic to talk about tonight than what I was planning on. So, kind of a cool thing if it works out. We'll see if anybody shows up. Alana's doing good. Just finished a paper for school. Good for you, Alana. That's awesome. I bet you are doing good just having finished that paper. Hey, if it doesn't bother anybody, I'm going to eat a little brisket. My brisket's so good, I don't even need no barbecue sauce. Shoot. Didn't have a chance to eat dinner tonight either, by the way. So, Alana, what paper were you doing? What class? Hi, Monica Rojas. How are you? By the way, I have a little lag when y'all type a comment. Sometimes I think it takes a few minutes for it to show up on my end. Randy Lovelady says he wants some brisket. Man, Randy, we had a family over. Actually, it was the family that I went and saw Drew tonight, his whole family, 7 kids, so a family of 9. We had invited them over for 4th of July Saturday. And so I made 3 racks of ribs and a whole, I think, a 15, 16-pound brisket. And only about half their family came. The 3 oldest kids or 4 oldest kids, I think, were all busy traveling, working, whatever. They were so I got lots of brisket left over, brother. So if you want some brisket, come on over and see me, Randy. We'll get some brisket. Alana, composition, the one I called you about. Oh, okay, good. I remember that call. I'm trying to remember what I told you or what we addressed. I know it was about something with the church, and I can't remember what exactly that topic was. But I hope you're happy with how the paper turned out. And even more so, I hope your professor is happy with how that paper turned out. So, all right, I don't know if anybody else is going to join us tonight or not, but I'm going to go ahead and talk for a little bit about a topic that is not what I planned on, but this whole snafu, this mess up of not being on at 9 o'clock actually kind of triggered this teaching tonight. So what I want to teach about is this. It is so important to me that each of you develop deep, meaningful, interpersonal relationships. So not just your relationship with God. Obviously, that is a huge thing. It is the most important relationship you will ever have. But I want you to develop interpersonal relationships with one another, the church. I want to develop those same kinds of relationships with all of you. And I want you to understand how important this is to me. I'm going to back us up a decade. I finished working at my previous church on October the 31st, 2009. When I left there, I already knew that God was calling me to plant a church. At that time, we still thought it was in Colorado. A year later, we realized God was keeping us here. But I also knew a lot of what I had learned at that previous church was stuff I wanted to bring with me. But there were a few things that worked for that church and aren't inherently bad things or wrong things, but they weren't going to work for me in my leadership in the church that God was calling me and my family to plant. So written into the founding documents of Elevation Church are a couple of phrases that came from that whole process of thinking through what, God was calling us to do and who God is calling us to be, and how I lead and who I am as a person. And one of those comes to play over the last couple of weeks, especially on the Tuesdays with Todd. And one of those phrases is this phrase: we value people over programs. We value relationships over other responsibilities. Now, that was born from my experience in ministry at my previous church. I worked at that church from 2001 through 2009. And in about 2005, I was almost fired. I didn't learn that until several years later, although I kind of suspected it at the time in 2005, for giving away too much ministry, having too close of a friendship relationship with a lot of the volunteers in my ministry. And that church, that ministry was all about, in fact, that pastor still uses the phrase, it's all about the weekend stupid. The mentality there was everything we did fed the weekend, Saturday services and Sunday services. Everything was about that. There was nothing in that church more important than what happened in the worship center on Saturday and Sunday, straight from the senior pastor's mouth. And again, not terrible, not inherently bad for me, not a good fit for me. I'm a people person. I want to build relationships. I want to get to know people. And in that context of that church, my drive to build relationships actually got in the way of everything being about the program, what we were doing programmatically, whether it was Sunday, Saturday services for the adults. Later, when I was in student ministry, it was the Wednesday night, or the big programs, the weekend events, or the summer camps, or mission trips, or whatever. And it was a really big lesson for me to learn that when I planted Elevation Church, I did not want us to be program driven. I wanted us to be people driven. I did not want to be all about, my responsibilities to make sure everything on Sunday morning or Wednesday night or whatever is the absolute positive best that could be produced in the 168 hours I have between this week's event and next week's event, right? Because I understood I wanted to pour into people. I wanted to build relationships with people. I wanted to develop people, see them grow spiritually. I really value the relational connectivity. So the way that all this ties into last Tuesday and tonight, because last Tuesday, if any of you are regular participants in Tuesday with Todd, I about 10 minutes to 9, maybe even a little less, I logged on and said, hey, we're not going to do Tuesday with Todd tonight. I have not been able to prepare, and I apologize. My other responsibilities in the church have kept me from it. Well, the other responsibilities I was speaking of, actually, and by the way, you might hear my dogs whining in the background. They're wearing me out. There must be a rabbit in the backyard because they are whining, clawing, and pawing at the door. They may start barking in a minute. Please ignore the dogs. They're awesome. They're great. They're lovely, but they're frustrating when they are not getting their way. They are very vocal about it. So, at any rate, last Tuesday, I was deeply involved in a very difficult family situation with a church family. I can't tell you who it was. Not going to talk about what it was, but I'll tell you this: I am still deeply involved in that family situation and helping this family cope and deal and move forward through this extraordinarily trying, painful time that they're experiencing. And so I was elbow deep in working with this family. And I, quite honestly, Monday, Tuesday, both were heavily leveraged in that direction. And I didn't have any real time to prepare something. So when my alarm went off to warn me, hey, you need to be logging on here in the next 30 minutes, I tried really quick to whip something out, put something together. And no, I'm not going to shortcut y'all who are tuning in for this. I would rather say, hey, I'm not doing this tonight. And that also allowed me to spend some time with my family, which often gets put on the back burner when I'm helping other people in the church families, or even people outside of the church, people from our community. When I find out there's a need, there's stuff going on, I can get pretty heavily leveraged and involved and spend a lot of time and mental, emotional, and spiritual energy in those things. And so at any rate, that was what happened last Tuesday. Tonight, I've already told you, I was with a longtime family friend. I've literally known Drew Estes since the day he was born. I think I met him 4 or 5 hours certainly within the first 8 hours of his life. I held him in the hospital. I've known the kid since he was born. I've spent the last 4 years with him on the high school bass fishing team that I coach. He received his Eagle Scout Award. He earned this rank. It is the highest achievement in Boy Scouts, and his ceremony was tonight. I went to it. I set an alarm. I was driving home. I actually had forgotten to turn my sound back on my phone after the Eagle Scout ceremony, so I didn't even hear it go off. Trina actually called me a couple times, I think, to tell me to get online. I missed her calls because all my phone sound was turned off. So I should have remembered, but I was thinking about what had just transpired. I'm driving home thinking about Drew, the 18 years that I've known him, the way that I've seen the kid grow up into a young man and now a man, an 18-year-old man about to go off college. And I mean, yeah, compared to my 47 years life, he's a kid, but I have to acknowledge he's a man. And the way that I've seen him grow up and grow spiritually, all the fun and laughs and serious moments too that we've had in fishing and just in sharing life together. And so I was deep in thought with all of that when it was time to log on and do Tuesday with Todd. And I'm not trying to make an excuse. There's no excuse. I should have remembered. My phone should have been turned back on. The alarm should have, gotten me ready. But it just made me think that maybe God is reminding me. Because during COVID, it's been very easy to fall into the programs. Joe's doing Thursday night worship. I'm doing Tuesday with Todd. We're, a lot of Sundays, we're actually pre-recording the message you see on Sunday on another night of the week so that we can be with our families on Sunday, and also so that we can take that recording and add things like the bottom third of the screen being the slides, and instead of Joe having to focus in on the TV on the stage for when I'm reading scripture or something like that, he's able to edit that in as the bottom third of the page. And so we're doing all this stuff. We've actually added programming to all of our lives, the staff and the volunteers who are involved in all of that. While there's nothing else going on for a lot of you guys, church-wise, we're doing more. And so I think God just gave me the opportunity maybe over these last 2 weeks to kind of wake me up, to just remind not only myself, but all of you how critically important it is that we value relationships over some of the other responsibilities that we have in life. And certainly that doesn't mean you throw, you don't pay your bills, you don't go to work, you don't do that. You got to be responsible, right? But relationships, and in the case of those of us who are on church staffs or serving in those key volunteer roles involved in the big programs, that it's the people. The reason we do those programs is for the people. People matter more than those programs. I was almost fired in 2005 because I was spending more time with people, and things in the program weren't as finely tuned or perfected as they could have been. But at the end of the day, those programs are for people. And those people matter to God. And you are those people. And while it wasn't you that I was working with last week, and it wasn't you that I was hanging out with tonight, there's been times, or there's going to be times, where it is you. And maybe it's you that needs to be the one who's doing the hanging out, or the walking hand in hand with somebody through a difficult time. Not just saying, hey, I'll pray for you, but literally being with them. Like the story of the Good Samaritan, down in the ditch, muddy and bloody with the hurting person, ministering to them in the midst of the yuck and the hurt of their lives. People over programs, relationships over other responsibilities. These are core values of mine, and these are core values of Elevation Church, because people matter. You matter. So I apologize to all of the people that I disappointed when I missed Tuesday with Todd last week, and when I logged on late for Tuesday with Todd tonight. But now you know why. And not just the reasons, not just where I was or what I was doing, but you know the heart behind it. You know the value that I place on people and on relationships. Love to hear your comments, your thoughts, your questions about this policy, about these values. Would just really love to hear your feedback on this. So I'm going to eat a little more brisket, maybe drink a little water, and watch this little sidebar. See, I'm looking at you guys, but wait, it's over here. Yeah, right over here, I've got this little side strip on my screen where I can see all of the conversation popping up. So y'all make some comments, type some questions. Let me know what you're thinking, and we can continue this conversation. But in the meantime, that's the stuff right there. How good. You know you got your hands on some good barbecue when it doesn't even need sauce. All right. Anybody? Questions, comments? Elsie, please don't apologize. We love you. I love y'all too. Thank you. When I apologize, I am sorry that sometimes when I'm serving one person or meeting one person's needs, or even if it's my own family or my own personal needs, when I'm dealing with these relationships over other responsibilities and people over programs deals, I realize there's other people that are kind of being the ones left out, or who are missing out on something or whatever. And so I'm sorry for those times when that happens, but it's not just people over programs, relationships over other responsibilities. It's also having to prioritize and figure out sometimes which fires are hotter, or which situations require a person's attention, my attention, your attention, whatever, the most in a particular moment. And so that's what the apology was about, is I know that sometimes when I'm tending to my own needs, my own family's needs, or somebody else's, that I'm missing out on a lot of other families. But it goes right back to the biblical principle of leaving the 99 for the one, right? The good shepherd will leave the 99 to retrieve the one. So yeah, it is. It's a powerful message, and I wish it originated with me, but it doesn't. It is straight up Jesus right there. I am just absolutely stealing, pilfering, robbing from the teachings of Jesus when I say relationships over other responsibilities and people over programs. So thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence, Elsie. I do, truly. Any questions about this? Any comments? I mean, does anybody have a different point of view or a concern with this? Do you think maybe I should be focused on the program because that's for the majority rather than the individual or the smaller group? So nothing's out of bounds. Nothing's off the table. Throw it out there if you got it. I'm going to keep throwing this in here because I got it. I don't know why beef is the best meat. There you are. $3.99 from Pastor Todd tonight. My opinion for what it's worth. I might be a meat snob. I'm an equal opportunity offender. I will eat all the meats, right? And I like chicken, I like pork, I like fish, I like beef, I like wild game. But beef is where it's at. All right. Well, it doesn't look like anybody has any questions or comments or concerns with this. I mean, I hope it's real simple and it all made sense, and I hope it resonates with you, especially if you're part of Elevation Church, because this is a core value and it's a big piece of who we are, and not just what we do, but why we do what we do, and the reason we do things the way that we do them, and all of that. It really does come back to valuing that relational connectivity that we all have. We're all made for it. God gave us the drive and the desire. He gave us the need, and we've got to feed that. We got to love people where they're at. We got to meet them where they're at, and sometimes you got to leave the 99 to love on the one. And so anyway, I love all of you. I really love our time together. I know 2 weeks in a row, it doesn't seem like it maybe, but I promise you I do. I value this, and I value each one of you. And I look forward to being back in a interpersonal, in the same room, relational connection with all of you again really, really soon. Have a great night. God bless you.